Exactly where to fit this in from Dr. Kelly Brogan in my last video. So I want to just go over the one more danger of psychiatric medications, and that's the fact that it causes the very illnesses that it's meant to treat and some others. Okay, so things like tardive psychosis, things like bipolar disorder, things like suicidality, and people that did not experience these things prior to being medicated. But here's Dr. Kelly Brogan to explain. She's a psychiatrist.
These medications are driving the very epidemics that they, are claiming to treat, right? Including data that shows that for every, 23 patients, this is Yale data, 23 patients treated with an antidepressant, one bipolar patient is born, So we are claiming to treat, right? Including data that shows that for every, 23 patients, this is Yale data, 23 patients treated with an antidepressant, one bipolar patient is born, So we are creating and generating epidemics of mental illness that wouldn't exist without the treatments that we are offering. And this is called iatrogenesis. This is called Dr. patient is born, So we are creating and generating epidemics of mental illness that wouldn't exist without the treatments that we are offering. And this is
So remember, it's being blamed on genetics, but in reality, like I said, it's like saying being fat runs in a family. No, diets run in a family. Eating styles run in a family. Lack of activity runs in a family. One of the problems with mental health is psychiatric treatment runs in families. They tend to treat children very early now, and they claim that one of the predispositions for children to have mental illness is that their parents are mentally ill. Is it really, or is it the fact that there are people intervening for transient life issues that are caused by having unstable parental figures? These kids are probably being drugged with these dangerous pharmaceuticals, and then these drugs are causing the very issues that they're claiming to treat, including psychosis, including suicidality, including bipolar disorder, including depression, and including things like actual medical diseases, like diabetes, okay? This is very, very common, okay? Very common. These drugs are not safe.
Iatrogenesis, this is called doctor-driven harm. And I have witnessed in my practice many patients who developed symptoms during treatment, but particularly during discontinuation.
Now, this was something that I would regularly see when I worked in mental health. I would have clients that would show up to me. They were perfect. They could talk. They could walk. They went out of their home. They might have been a little depressed. They might have had a life experience that made them a little depressed. Maybe they lost their job, maybe they got mugged, maybe they got broken up with. These are all literal situations people have had that have been sad, and they've gone, or they had previously been in psychiatric treatment, so they went back to psychiatric treatment or went to a psychiatrist at the place that I worked, which was Pendel Mental Health Center, and then they were given medications. Slowly but surely, within a matter of weeks or months, these people's cognitive abilities declined, and their ability to walk and talk and function normally declined to the point where some of them appeared to be mentally challenged, and a lot of them appeared to be psychotic, in the sense that they would become withdrawn. They wouldn't want to leave their homes anymore. They became even more so depressed. But what was funny is they were always being told by their therapist and by their doctor they're doing great. Now, I would go to these people's homes. The only times these people would do anything was with me, so they weren't doing better. But the doctor and the therapist only sees them in the office. So because they're less disruptive, they're better. Because they're not having intrusive thoughts, because they're not having very much thoughts at all, they're better. That's according to the doctors and the therapists. They're oversimplifying the issue.
They never had before medication treatment. And these symptoms can include everything from suicidality to medication treatment. And these symptoms can include everything from suicidality to intractable depression. There are patients who have never struggled with depression, who are treated with antidepressants for, insomnia, for example, and who end up 5 weeks later committing suicide. So this is something that we have to reckon with, and it essentially can include everything from suicidality to discontinuation that they never had before medication treatment. And these symptoms can include everything from suicidality to intractable depression. There are patients who have never struggled with depression, who are treated with antidepressants for, insomnia, for example, and who end up 5 weeks later committing suicide. So this is something that we have to reckon with. And essentially, the challenges of a medication taper often leave patients trapped and, in a kind of set of clinical handcuffs, because they are symptomatic on medication and then they cannot come off it. Of course, it's my passionate belief that if we address, holistic principles for healing, that we actually improve a patient's ability to come off a medication. But I certainly, could not promise or guarantee that it's always a possibility. And this is why I believe most passionately in patients who are thinking about initiating these medications, that they must be informed of the full picture of what it is that we know about their habit-forming potential and the they must be informed of the full picture of what it is that we know about their habit-forming potential and the very unpredictable nature of their side effects.